While misdemeanor probation is outsourced, let's get into it. Misdemeanor probation is outsourced because it sits in a low visibility, low liability zone. Felony probation, parole, and federal supervisions carry constitutional risk, invite media scrutiny, create state and federal liability, and require uniform standards. Misdemeanor probation does not. It is framed as an alternative to jail, leniency, administrative supervision, right? That framing allows the states to shift the cost off the taxpayers, avoid expanding government payrolls, allows courts to maintain control without funding supervision. This is why misdemeanor probation and not felony or federal supervision becomes privatized. Now let's pause there for a minute. I want you guys to understand why they do this. They do this because misdemeanor offenses are looked at as minuscule, as something not that big. And even some other people who are lucky enough to not to be affected by these systems will say things like, well, if you don't get in trouble, you won't have to worry about it. Trust me, get it. I know some people are perfect in this world, but some people, we do have issues. We have speeding tickets. We have DUIs. We have, simple batteries. And God forbid, sometimes there's some domestic disputes. Now, I don't condone any of it. New media doesn't condone any of it, but the thing about it is when you target rural areas, low resource places, and capitalize on those lack of resources or that lack of knowledge, that's where the problem lies. But let's keep on going. Now, this is why private probations target courts and not the state. Private probation companies do not seek statewide contracts because uniformity works against profits. Statewide systems bring fee caps, oversights, audits, standardized enforcements. Court-by-court contracts create discretion, fragmentation, inconsistent standards, no centralized data. This makes it almost impossible to compare one jurisdiction to another, and just as important, it makes it difficult to identify patterns. That structure isn't accidental, it's functional. Why this makes sense, for the owners. JAG was not built by outsiders guessing how probation works. It was built by individuals who spent decades inside the criminal justice systems, law enforcement, probation supervision, court operations, and administrations. The owner's background includes state probation supervision, municipal and county court operation, law enforcement and investigation, multiple office probation management, contract implications across jurisdictions. This matters because they understood the system before privatization ever expanded. They understood how probation violations are written, how technical violations are enforced, how discretions operate inside municipal courts, how underfunded courts rely on outside solutions, how relationships, not statutes, drive contracts. Most importantly, they understood where the gray areas live, not because of wrongdoing, but because of experience. When private probation becomes a viable option, they already knew which courts were resource strains, which jurisdictions rely heavily on probation, where supervision could be scaled without triggering oversight, how to expand municipality by municipality. That's how a system becomes a business. Now, this is why the rural and resource limited areas are hit the hardest. And this is big, right? Smaller and rural jurisdictions often have fewer public defendants, limited legal education among defendants, transportation challenges, heavy reliance on probation for compliance, little centralized oversight. In these environments, pressure becomes the enforcement tool. Pressure doesn't require more staff, more programming, more services. It requires fees, deadlines, technical rules, violations, leverage. People with decades of probation experience understand this dynamic all too well. Now let's do the math. And this is just Baldwin County, very conservative. We're going to use these low estimates, to avoid exaggeration. Population in Baldwin County, about 40,000. Probation rate, conservative, we'll use 5%, not 10%. At 5% of 40,000, that's 2,000 people on misdemeanor probation. That's conservative. Monthly supervision fees, we'll use $40 per month, midpoint between $35 and $50. 2,000 times 40 is 80,000 a month. 80,000 times 12, right, is 960,000 per year. That's just in supervision fees. Over time, JAG has operated roughly 25 years. So you do 960 times 25, that's $24 million. And that's just for one office in Baldwin County alone, using conservative assumptions. This does not include drug testing. This does not include classes. This does not include reinstatement fees. This does not include extensions. This does not include late penalties. And it does not include any other county or states. Now here's a comparison. Private misdemeanor probation, 35 to 50 bucks per month. Paid for by the defendant. That's key, right? That's key. You on JAG probation, you pay your own supervision fee. That way taxpayers don't have to pay it. They use that incentive to say, hey, we're lowering taxes. We're making the defendant pay it, right? Enforced through technical violations, diluted urine, missed payments, whatever you have. Jail used as leverage. All right, now state probation or parole is usually about 20 bucks a month, and sometimes it's even waived. Taxpayers funded, fee is capped, higher thresholds for incarceration. Federal probation has zero supervision fee, fully taxpayer funded, uniform national standards. So the question becomes, why does the least serious offense carries the highest ongoing cost to the individual? And now we understand why the money flows where it does. Once you understand why misdemeanor probation is outsourced, why courts are targeted individually, why rural areas are ideal markets, why experienced insiders built this model, the money doesn't look mysterious. It looks inevitable. So you look at this model behind us with just 50 offices making $24 million over the last 25 years. If you do 50 offices, look down at the bottom, 1.2 billion. And that's just in supervision fees. The next segment, man, we're going to follow this money. We're going to follow that 1.2 billion. We're going to break it down and see exactly where it goes. Some people don't like it. Some people may feel some type of way, but hey, man, I'm here for the people. I'm here for the little man. I'm here for the people who helped pay that 1.2 billion. Right? So I know sometimes some people, they don't like to talk about these things. They may feel some type of way. I get it. This message is not for you. You have the right situations, the right connections, whatever the case may be. You don't have to deal with this. So a lot of times, what I've learned, the people who are the most give me the most backlash for speaking out on situations like this are mostly the ones that are reaping the benefit from situations like this. Y'all stay tapped in. Y'all make sure y'all subscribe. Make sure y'all share. Y'all keep this train rolling, because the Georgia Railroad is real, and we bringing the truth to light. Lamar King Sr., investigative analyst, new media. Be great today. Peace.